So today I wanted to kind of talk about like my series DNFs. These are just series that I've read like the first book to that honestly I don't think I'm going to read any more into. A lot of these are pretty well loved series too, so just kind of know this is my opinion. These are just books I didn't like, and most of these like I didn't like dislike them. They were okay, and I really don't care to read the rest of the series. Like a lot of these were like 3-star books that are like they're good if you like them, but they just weren't for me. So I just don't think I'll be continuing on with these series, and I like to know what happens in series, even if I'm not going to finish them. So one thing that I end up doing is like looking at like the Wikipedia for these series, if they're a completed series. I think there's one in here that is not a completed series. And if it's a completed series, I will look and like find all the spoilers, see what I'm missing, see if maybe there is a chance that I would want to pick it up again, because spoilers don't throw me off of reading books. Sometimes like a really good spoiler for book 2 can make me be like, okay, you know what? I really do want to keep reading this. This does sound like something I would like, and it sounds like it's going to fix my issues with book 1, so I'll go for it. 9 times out of 10, that's not what happens. 9 times out of 10, when these books are ones that I'm like, I'm just not going to finish the series, it ends up being like, okay, I'm glad I didn't finish it, but I still like to know. So like some of these you'll see that I've like looked up exactly what happens and have zero desire to continue on with these series. If some of these are your favorites or you love these series, then I'm sorry that I didn't like them. But I didn't like them. But that doesn't mean we can't still be friends, you know? We can still be friends. We can have differences in opinions on books, right? Right? Yeah. So I currently own 2 copies of these books. So most of these, like, I don't even have physical copies anymore. 2 of them I still do, and I will probably be unhauling them. These 2 are books that I've been holding on to kind of in hopes that I would want to read the rest of the series, but honestly, the more I look at these 2 books on my shelves, the more I'm like, you know, just get rid of them, girl. Just get rid of them. Make room for all the new books that you're probably going to be hauling soon. You don't need this in your life. Somebody else would love this at the used bookstore. And that's what I'm going to do. The first of these is The Promise of Blood. It's the Powder Mage series. We read this for the Shelf Space Book Club one month, and while I liked the book, it was good, it just wasn't something that really resonated on as something that I care to continue. Like, I didn't really care too much for the characters. I didn't really care too much for the plot. There was so much going on that I couldn't decide which storyline I liked and didn't. Like, there was like so many different storylines, so many different plots going on that like I got whiplash, and it just wasn't for me. And while I thought that some of the aspects of this book were really cool, I just don't really find myself wanting to know what happens next. I just don't really care about the rest of the story, and I feel like if I don't really care to find out the rest of the story, then like why am I holding on to this and holding on to hope where I could just like give it away to the used bookstore? Somebody else will find it, somebody else will love it, they will be so happy. And yeah, so this is one that I don't know what happens in the rest of the series. I need to like look up the Wikipedia and see. Maybe this is the only one in this pile that's like a possibility that I will still pick it back up. But at this point, I really don't care to finish the Powder Mage series. The next one might be a little surprising, but it is what it is. And that is The Burning. The first book is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. Again, this wasn't a book that I hated. I actually liked this book more than a lot of my friends that read it. This was actually my book club pick when I co-hosted the Shelf Space Book Club. And it caused, you know, shelf space civil war. You either loved it or you hated it. And I ended up kind of staunchly in the middle, where I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. But then it's like one of those books where the more I sit with it, the more I just think about the story, I really just didn't care, right? Like, I don't like the characters. I didn't really care about the plot of this story. There was so many battle scenes that I just didn't care about. I loved the prologue. Like, I wanted the whole series to be that, and it was not. There was like no dragons. Like, it wasn't for me. But it wasn't bad. It's just one that I'm like, I don't really care to read the rest of this. Like, if you love this, then that's great. It is a really cool concept. It just wasn't for me, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing on with the rest of this series. The rest of these I actually have already unhauled and do not own physical copies of. The next one that I'm done. I don't care. I don't want to read the rest of the series is Shadow and Bone. So the Grisha series. I know there is a show coming out, and honestly, the show looks fantastic. It looks so much better than that first book that I read. Let's be real. I don't want to read the rest of the books. I just want to watch the show. And I might still care to read Six of Crows, but honestly, like, that one doesn't even sound that great to me either. It's just none of it sounds like something that I really care to pick up. When I have so many other books that like really seem to be ones I want to read, I don't want to like make myself read something just because it's like the rest of a series I started. So probably will not be reading Grisha or Six of Crows or whatever the spin-off one is. I think Rule of Wolves was the one that just came out. I don't know. I don't. And I'll probably watch the show. I looked up what happens in the end of like the Grisha series, and honestly, that ending was terrible. Like, that's how they ended it. Not a fan. I don't like what happens at the ending, according to Wikipedia or whatever, of the first 3 like Grisha books. And I did not look up kind of anything that happens in Six of Crows, but like honestly, I just don't care. It just doesn't resonate. And I'm probably just gonna pass on reading these because yeah, just not interesting. The next one is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read book 1 and it was okay. It was 3 stars. It was all right. It wasn't anything that I was like, yeah, this is so great. Like, it had so much potential, I felt like, and like everything just fell flat. It was very much like, Selena's this great warrior and assassin, and I never saw that. And then there was this like weird love triangle thing, and I know from Wikipedia that neither one of those dudes is the dude she ends up with, and like there's this whole other like plot line that like takes off in like I think book 3 or 4, and everyone has told me like just make it like past book 2, and I'm like, I don't want to. I don't. And I think it turns into a fairy story, and honestly that's not my thing. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, it like kind of like goes down the road of like a Sarah J. Maas Fae story, and I'm just not here for that, right? Like, it's just not my thing. So I don't think I'll be reading the rest of Throne of Glass. Sorry if it's your favorite. Just was not for me. Did not like Selena. it wasn't, it was boring. The last book is the one that I probably disliked the most. Like, the others were like, it was okay, it was boring, it wasn't for me, yada yada. This book, I like actively disliked, and that is The Cruel Prince, which is book 1 in the Folk of the Air series. I actively dislike this. It is one of my least favorite books. I have no desire to read the rest of the series. I did Wikipedia it. It sounds really just not for me. I just am not a fan. I don't like it. It's a bully romance, basically. And I was like, what? No. Carden is trash. Jude's okay, kind of boring. Like, everyone in this, it's not even like morally gray. Because, like, you know, I like some morally gray characters. Like, these are just bad people. Like, and I just wasn't feeling it. Like, it just was awful. And then there's this, like, one chapter in book 1 that no one talks about. And it literally, like, breaks the fourth wall. And I don't understand it. I think it's, like, super early on in book 1. And it's like, hold on, let me tell you something. And I'm like, what is going on? Do we just break the fourth wall and, like, never discuss it ever again? Because that was weird. And I couldn't get into it. And from what I hear, Queen of Nothing, the last book, is like a letdown for most people, and like the best one is book 2, and I just have no desire to read that. Just not for me. I'm just not gonna do that to myself. And again, I'm thinking maybe I just don't like fairies. Maybe I just don't like fae. I have no desire to read this. And lately, if something is pitched as like a fae romance story, I'm just like, probably gonna pass. All right, well, thank you for hanging out. This was all of the books that I'm just not gonna finish. My series DNFs that I'm like, I read a book, probably not gonna read the rest of the books. And I looked up the endings. I might pick up the rest of the Powder Mage. That's the only one that's kind of up in the air. And if I do, it's probably going to be one that I pick up, like, from the library as opposed to purchasing it. Because I'd have to see how I feel about it because I didn't love book 1. So that's the only one that's kind of up in the air. But the rest of them, like, I have zero desire to read these books. Like, why? Why read books that I'm just, like, not caring about when I have so many that I want to read, that I'm excited to read, that I'll probably still never get to read in my lifetime because there's so many, and then I keep buying more. Like, it's a problem. I need to stop myself. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know what some of your series DNFs are. They can even be some of my favorite series. Like, a lot of my friends have DNF'd, like, the 5th season, which is one of my favorite series. And you know what? It's okay. It's fine. It's not for everybody. So let me know what you are DNFing in the comments below. If you want to talk more, you can join me on my Discord that is also linked below. We love to have a good conversation, so hopefully I will see you there. All right, well, my name is Jessie. Thanks for hanging out, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.